Recording in progress.
Hey everyone, thanks for your interest in this particular faculty-led study abroad session. This session is aiming to take students on a faculty-led trip to Athens, Greece during summer of 2023, where we will tackle the really important topic of inequality, and specifically we'll be kind of framing this experience around the psychology of inequality. And so throughout this presentation, my goal is to kind of give you a little sense of what we would cover in the time that we would be together in Athens, what the class is about, just a little bit about the class, and then I'll introduce you to myself and introduce you to my co-instructor, which I'll get to that in a second. But in these slides, you're going to see some pictures that I've taken, because I've done this before. I've taken students to Athens before. We've explored the psychology of inequality within Athens. And so you're going to see kind of some of the things that students have been able to do as part of this experience in some of these slides. And I'll try to kind of point some key things out as we go through them. And I think the other thing, what I will try to talk through in this presentation is just to kind of give you a sense of what we anticipate doing in the summer, because we've done it before, right? We've learned some things. So why should we care about inequality? So inequality touches all of us in some way. And I think given these rapidly increasing rates of inequality that happen in many domains, we'll explore, and it's important to explore, some of the causes of that, but it's also important to explore kind of what goes along with that, right? Or what are some of the correlates of this inequality? And then we can think about some of the consequences of it. I think we see a lot of the consequences of it around us in our daily lives, but we'll certainly dig into that in a more deliberate way in this course. But certainly in this course, we'll talk about how things like race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, demographic shifts, so things like migration, increasing numbers of refugees, for example, which is a big thing in Athens, how these kinds of factors contribute to inequality and how this really plays out in the lives of individuals day to day. The one thing that I'm really excited about for this particular session is I'm bringing along a colleague who I'll introduce here in a moment. But he really has a lot of background in socialization. And so we'll talk about how different systems in our lives socialize these inequalities. So how they contribute to inequality, and how that socialization kind of continues to cycle generation after generation, and what the consequences of that are. But truly, the current levels of inequality around the world really represents a global challenge, and something that I think we should all care about, and certainly something that we should try to get our arms around so that we can come up with some constructive solutions to improve the world that we live in and the world that we're going to continue to live in, hopefully for a long time. So my name is Dr. Eric Gooderrice. I'm an associate professor and chair of the psychology department. I've been at Webster since 2009. My training is in lifespan developmental psychology. I study a lot of things like health beliefs and behaviors across the lifespan. So how can we promote optimal developmental outcomes across the lifespan? I've done a lot of work in my career promoting high impact opportunities for students from all sorts of different backgrounds. I really like providing impactful teaching, advising, and mentoring experiences. I've been fortunate enough to lead a couple of study abroad efforts. And so I'm a big believer in this work and this activity in its ability to kind of provide a really unique, transformative student experience. I have won multiple awards for my teaching, for my research, for my mentoring, for my advising. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunities that Webster's given me over the years, and really grateful for the folks in study abroad to be working with me to plan this experience. My colleague who I'm bringing on board for this session is Mr. Tabari Pullman, who's a doctoral student and also a training consultant and social justice advocate. So Tabari is known very widely, certainly in the St. Louis region, but he's also done a lot of work nationally and internationally on sessions and topics that build empathy. Tabari is known for his thoughtful but direct approach to facilitating dialogue. So he has a lot of experience giving workshops, leading training sessions for educational groups and corporate organizations and the like. And so he has a lot of background in speaking about the topic that we're going to get into. So Tabari actually comes from an international background. So he has these experiences that he brings to the table have certainly had a huge influence over his personal and professional ambitions. So Tabari's done a lot of training in diversity, equity, and inclusion, social justice work, and he certainly brings a unique perspective and expertise to this experience that we'll be tackling in summer of 2023. And I think what's going to be really exciting about this is that while my background is as an academic psychologist, Tabari's background is in giving a lot of workshops, maybe being more kind of day-to-day, outward-facing, less academic. So I think we're going to complement one another really well, and that's what he and I are really excited about. So we'll get the academic side, we'll learn the research, we'll learn the academic rigor behind some of this stuff. But we'll also talk about how to engage with it and speak about it on a more experiential and conversational level. So we got a couple pictures here from the previous time that I led this experience. The top picture is where everyone is being very safe, obviously sitting on this balcony, is on the roof of the Athens campus, downtown Athens campus. It's pretty exciting. The middle photo is at the Olympic Stadium, which was at where one of the very first Olympic events were held. And the bottom picture is some of our students volunteering at a refugee center in Athens. But really, we're framing this in a way that students are gonna be able to learn alongside myself, my colleague, a social justice expert, an award-winning professor, and we're gonna dig into some important topics. I think given where Athens is the Athens campus is located, it's going to be really exciting for us to engage in really, quite frankly, some unique one-of-a-kind experiences that you may never really have access to again. So there's a lot of Greek cultural activities that'll be programmed for us, but just given where the campus is, we're going to be able to really dig into this topic. And I think that relates to this third point. So Athens presents as a place that's really ideal for exploring some of these institutional and cultural factors that contribute to inequality and kind of how we socialize these types of inequalities in our lives and in our cultures. So we're tentatively planning this course as a summer term course for 4 weeks on the ground in Athens. We're looking at May 22nd to June 18th. So that's a summer term, looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday tentatively from about 9 a.m. to roughly noon. And so that's the game plan for this. My course is going to cover, as I said, a number of important topics like social class, education, poverty, wealth, access, power, and how our own individual standing within society has implications for how we think about the world and how we actually end up interacting with the world and behaving. So our courses are going to consist of both lectures and discussions. It's going to kind of be, we're going to have some kind of workshop formats where we engage with difficult topics, talk about it, unpack it. We're going to take that content out into Athens and into the surrounding area and engage in some experiential activities. So we'll have some kind of field trips programmed and other experiential activities. And you're going to be able to earn 3 credits for that class. There's also, students may also be able to earn some research credits if they're interested in doing some field research, and we can explore that individually. But we're really tackling inequality from a lot of different domains. So we're tackling inequality from biological perspectives, psychological perspectives, and then obviously these socio-cultural perspectives. So we'll talk about some of the causes and consequences of inequality. And I think what we'll also be able to dig into is how inequality plays out in certain populations, especially certain really at-risk vulnerable populations like immigrants, children, families, refugees. This is certainly very salient and important issues happening today, and Athens presents a really, I think, for better or worse, a really valuable place to do that work. So we'll dig into a variety of topics. This isn't all of them certainly, but you can get a sense when you think of inequality, you know, it's not just money, right? We experience inequality in a number of ways. We experience it with respect to our access to resources like healthcare and schooling, job opportunities. We experience inequality with respect to just the extent to which we have an abundance or scarcity of food and things like that can happen, right? So we see how we socialize these things, and we'll really dig into this in the course. But this is just a little smattering of topics, and then depending on the makeup of the students and what the students want to cover, we'll tailor some of these topics to really hit things that students are passionate about. So this is just to give you an idea of what we'll cover. One thing that is like a very tangible way that inequality plays out is, and scientists have studied this, and this is you may have actually seen this video, so, but I'll tell you about it just in case you haven't. So there's a thing in psychology that's been documented called the scarcity mindset. And so what the scarcity mindset says is that if you withhold resources for someone, or even if you're not withholding them, but someone thinks you're withholding resources from them, it actually has fundamental changes to their brain and fundamental changes that we can see in outward behavior. So a while ago, Franz de Waal and colleagues kind of made this study kind of famous initially. Other people have replicated it over the years. But he uses monkeys in this lab. And the idea of this study is that there's two monkeys that are separated. I'm not sure if you can quite see it, but there's a wall between these two monkeys. And they're being trained in a lab to just to pick up a rock in the cage and hand it to the researcher. The researcher is this person in the blue coat. So what they do is every time they do that, they get a reward, right? This is very basic psychology type animal research paradigm. Except what these researchers did was they made these monkeys mad at each other. So every time one monkey gave the rock, they would get a cucumber, a little slice of cucumber. Now, monkeys apparently like cucumbers. I didn't know this until I learned about this study, but this happened. So the monkey on the right keeps getting these cucumbers, let's say. The monkey on the left all of a sudden starts getting grapes. I may be reversing the monkeys, but you'll get the idea here in a second. Grapes are amazing. Grapes are like the Reese's peanut butter cups in monkey world. They are bombs. So these are the best treats in the world. And so what happens is these two monkeys are doing the exact same thing. They're both giving the researcher a rock over and over and over and over and over again. And then what happens is as soon as the monkey that keeps getting the cucumber continues to get rewarded with just a cucumber, but it sees his colleague getting this grape, gets really angry and really resentful and starts banging on the glass and really violent and upset and like really anxious. You can visibly see it in the video. So these researchers were like fundamentally able to change how these animals interacted by just a little quick lab test. And so, yeah, that's in the lab, but clearly this stuff plays out in our daily lives. We see evidence of inequality all around us. And so to suggest that it doesn't have an impact on how we think and how we interact with other people is a really misguided type of, I think, conclusion. So I'd say if anyone has any questions about this, certainly you can follow up with me, Dr. Goodereis. My info is on here. Eric, Goedereis 18 at Webster.edu. Or of course, you can follow up with the Office of Study Abroad. We are having a celebratory souvlaki in the picture on the bottom right with some students after the experience. But yeah, this would be really a fantastic experience for you guys, and I would love to talk to you more about it and see you in Athens in 2023. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric.